Hello, my fellow Plutonians, and welcome to the second episode of the Plutonium Show. You want to say hi?
Hello.
First, we'd like to start off by thanking everyone for the overwhelmingly positive comments and all the support that you gave us for the first episode.
Many thanks.
It was really nice to see because we have no idea what we're doing. We had no idea how it would be received. So clearly, obviously, we're over the moon that it was received so well. And I hope you guys continue to enjoy what we have in store for you for the foreseeable future. So today, as you can tell from the title, we are going to be focusing on not being interrupted by cars outside in the street and the Meghan Markle kind of, I would say the interview with Oprah, but it wouldn't just be that, although I guess that is the focal point. But just in general, how that interview unleashed or opened up a can of worms in relation to just, I guess, all the lies or inaccuracies that she has been repeating and saying, especially in the Oprah interview. So a lot of critics have come out with opposing evidence that really makes her out to be a liar, which is obviously
the opposite of what she wanted.
Yeah, absolutely, which is not good. So before we get to that, very quickly, I want to very briefly, very high level update on Johnny Depp's case in Virginia. I'm not going to be going into detail because the documents are up in the Fairfax Court Registry, and you can have a look for yourselves. Essentially, the court ordered Amber to pay over just under $22,000 to Johnny in costs for the legal costs that he incurred in fighting off her deposition that was aimed at Adam Waldman. So if you guys don't remember, she wanted to depose Adam Waldman, and Johnny opposed it because of attorney-client privilege. You know all about attorney-client privilege.
I was in that, yeah.
And so what happened was the court found that Mr. Waldman can indeed be deposed, unfortunately, but they said that he wasn't served appropriately. So he wasn't issued a subpoena, which is the right way to inform someone that they are required for evidentiary purposes. They merely issued him a notice. So the court decided essentially that, yes, he can be deposed, but the way you went about it was wrong. The thing is, the cost order involves both of these motions, even though Johnny was unsuccessful in one of them, which is stopping the deposition altogether. So Amber's fighting it on that basis, that it's not fair. One of the motions was a failure, so why am I paying costs in relation to that motion? And now the court has issued a new order, very new. I think it was dated the 31st of March. Let me just have a quick look since it's in front of me. That was the initial one. Where's the latest order? Yep, 31st of March. Let's read it here since it's open. So Johnny will have 7 days from the date of this order in which he can provide an itemized declaration of fees related to his request for an award of attorney fees. So basically he has to list exactly how much he had to pay his lawyers in relation to these motions. So it's like an invoice of sorts where it clearly breaks down what money went where, so that Amber can argue, well, I don't have to pay this amount because it went to the motion that failed. Right, that's it. I'm not going to go into any more detail. That's all we need to know. Let's jump straight into Meghan Markle, because I tell you, I have 6 pages of notes on this one. I've spent the last, how many weeks? 2 weeks?
Yeah, about that.
2 weeks.
Yeah, since the interview, actually.
Yeah, well, maybe longer, I guess, then.
Yeah.
Just researching and watching videos and reading things all about her and all about her past and all about the start of her relationship with Harry, because I have said this multiple times. I can't even talk. I have said this multiple times before. We don't know anything about her. Have you ever heard of her before?
No.
Yeah.
No, I haven't watched Suits, and it was only, honestly, I would have only heard about her in passing if it wasn't for the fact that you mentioned that Harry's getting married. Yeah. And even then, I didn't know he wasn't married. That's how out of the loop I am.
I knew he wasn't married, but that's about it. My mother is the one who called me and said, "Oh, Prince Harry's getting married," and I didn't even know. Honestly, don't care. It's not that I don't care about the royals. You know, I'm aware of them, but we don't follow them.
It's not anything to do with us.
No.
And especially, you know, just because we have the what's it called, top of the flag. I should know this. The top of the Australian flag, the
Union Jack.
Just because we have the Union Jack doesn't mean that we are we follow the Queen's every step.
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying this is because the last few videos I made about her in relation to the privacy claim of the letter, I'm not necessarily changing my mind about that, by the way, because I always say it's not about Meghan Markle, right? It's not about Johnny Depp. It's not about Michael Jackson. It's about the facts. It's about the fact that someone was wronged, regardless of what their background is. That's how I approach cases. So I still stand behind the belief that her father was wrong to leak that letter to the press. You know, two wrongs don't... What is it? What's that saying?
Two wrongs don't make a right.
There we go. Two wrongs don't make a right.
But three lefts do.
So, you want to brush your hair off your face so they can see you?
I would love to.
You can do it. I don't know.
No, I wasn't sure if it was good because I don't look at myself in the mirror that much. So, you know...
Zach likes to tuck his hair behind his ears.
Out of the way.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a... It has a bit of a Dumbo effect.
Yeah.
So I try not... Yeah. I try to help him to go like, just try not to tuck it behind your ears.
Yeah, theme of my life. Just tucking long hair.
I mean, you do tuck it behind your ears 24/7. It's just when we're on camera that I'm like, please don't, let's not do the Dumbo look.
Of course, I don't have to do anything but sit here and talk to you. So it's, you know, but if I had to go and do something, it's like, oh
yeah, that's understandable.
It's in my face.
So, yeah, I just really want to make it clear. I'm not changing my mind about my opinion that the court was right in saying that the letter was private and should not have been published.
Because I've never had an opinion about her until recently. But my opinion was always that invading someone's privacy is wrong. You shouldn't be invading someone's privacy. I mean, I've always had a particular hatred, I guess, for paparazzi and that idea of chasing people around with cameras, and especially around the time when it was Johnny versus the Sun, and it's like, oh, yet another newspaper is you know, doing something again because that's their bread and butter, and they're desperate to get clout in the age of the internet when they're losing all their relevance. So I think invading someone's privacy is always wrong. Yeah,
and it brings me to, there was I want to move closer to the camera. I mean the center. There we go. There was this outtakes thing. Like, I didn't watch it. I just saw one outtake from the Oprah interview where Meghan actually makes a very good point about what you just said. And that's pretty much the only good point she makes, by the way. So don't see this as, oh, she's still siding with her. No, I'm really not. But she says, she gives this analogy of, I guess, inviting someone to her office, and then she has a photo of her child, Archie, in a frame on the desk. And then she says, just because I have that one photo and I'm showing it to the world, that doesn't then give that person who's invited into my office the right to grab my phone and go through the rest of my photos. So even if you're a public figure, what she's saying is, we should still be in control of what we want to show the world, and what we want to be kept private should still be kept private, which I have to say I agree with.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say there's this rule, even in the age of smartphones, where if you pass me your phone just now, where if you give me your phone and you want to show me a photo, that I'm not to swipe left or right. And I've never had anything crazy on my phone like that, but that's just a common rule, whether you think it's that sort of person or not. And even we were hanging out with friends the other day, and I was doing the swiping for them. I was showing them, you know, a series of photos, just because that's the rules. So it shouldn't really be different, depending on your status. I mean, obviously, I'm less sympathetic towards people who like Amber, but not so much like.
Well, I guess even people like Meghan, which we will get into.
I mean, yes, she is. You know, we'll get into all the juicy stuff in a moment, but. You know, there's always that just being able to go home and close the blinds. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not having someone peering around every corner. You know, being a celebrity, you know that when you step out, you know that as soon as you step out, you're in the public eye. There will be paparazzi there. You have to know that. But when you're in the privacy of your own home, celebrities that have walls are built around the house. I don't blame them in the slightest.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just that extra safety.
Yeah.
And yeah. So just to the juicy stuff, I guess.
Yes. Why am I slouching? I have this really bad habit of slouching. Zach always tries to straighten up my back anytime I'm
I'll
sitting.
just randomly walk behind her and just go,
Yeah. It's continuation from not slouching. Okay, so I actually, looking at my notes, my 6 pages, I very helpfully put up an update for myself, a little note at the top, because if you guys will remember my latest video where I gave you guys updates about Meghan and about Johnny. It's not my latest video, sorry, but it was the last video in which I talked about her. And I said how she won and she was awarded what she wanted in addition to an apology. So she wanted the newspaper to print an apology, which the judge agreed to at the time. Lord Justice Warby, I think that's his name. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong or if that's not his name, but I think it is Warby. But anyways, he also refused them permission to appeal. What happened is, in England, as Johnny did, if the initial court refuses permission to appeal, they can still go to the Court of Appeal itself and apply again. Which they did, Associated Newspapers, and what the Court of Appeal decided to do was to delay the apology pending the appeal application. So they now have the chance to put together their application for permission to appeal, and pending that, the apology will not be printed. What they've also been successful with seeking is that they can publish the apology eventually, if they ever do, in a smaller font than Meghan insisted on.
And they'll hide it between ads as well, because, you know, oh gosh.
Yeah. All right, so as with all things, it is helpful to start at the beginning, because with Meghan, that's what I did in the research process, and it kind of highlights what kind of a person she has always been. Because it's important to focus on her background, not just, and I don't mean her background as in her heritage or anything silly like that. I mean, what she did to get to where she is today. So, one of her go-tos when she gives speeches is that she really struggled and she had to pay her way through college, and she used to work, she started working at a yogurt shop since she was 13, and she always knew the value of hard work, right? That's her spiel. That's what she says in speeches, which I never really watched her speeches. The glimpses that I get from like Instagram kind of highlights, I have heard her say these things, and I was like, oh, cool. She seems like a really cool person. That's the thing with me. I keep forgetting that the red flags for me came up in the engagement interview, which we will get to because I want to do this chronologically. So because I forget, she's not on my radar, I see these speeches and I'm like, oh man, she seems really cool. Like, wow, what a good role model for women out there. And then I move on. I don't give her a second thought. Do we say that you've never liked her, though? Because you've never liked her.
Well, I've always, I don't know, there's just, I think a lot of people shared this. Like, I'm pretty bad at reading people, but there was just something about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've always said that.
I didn't necessarily feel comfortable about seeing her, when you just look at someone and you're just like, okay, there's something off there. That's how I felt. Now, I just thought it was me. Because, I wasn't, the first time I actually really saw her was the royal wedding.
Yes, we watched that live.
Yeah. Can't say I ever watch anything that you want to watch anymore.
Well, okay, let me clarify. I didn't like her at that point, which I'm remembering through the research. Can't talk. Through the research process, I remember that I didn't like her back in 2018. But I even remember telling you it's gonna be a once in a, the wedding of the century, not century because William and Kate got married, but basically it would be a historical moment that we were alive for, and it is only once in your life that you can see it live. And we were going to be home anyway, and it was a good time for us in the evening. So it wasn't that I wanted to see it because I liked her or them. It was, hey, it's a historical moment. Let's be involved in it.
It's like, I'm not into sports, but I would probably still watch the Olympic opening ceremony because it's like one of those big events.
Yeah, just that was the concept. And it was quite lovely to watch because Harry was very clearly in love. And again, we're going to get to that because he is still very clearly in love with her and beguiled by her. But it was a lovely moment to watch. Having said that, she was not behaving normally.
No.
Even in the wedding.
There were two things that I also got a kick out of, which I didn't think I would, seeing obviously, what is essentially the highest production standard because of anything. Like, what do the royals get? How are the zoom shots done? All the technical jargon that, I find interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how big, obviously, we've been to the UK, we've been to London.
We love it. It's beautiful there.
It was great. And
we want to move there.
And we went to the palace and all of that stuff. So we know there is a royal family, but you don't know how invested the people are.
Yeah.
And to see them, oh gosh, what must have been a sweltering hot day for them as well, because I think
it was May. Yeah, May 19th.
Particularly a warm day. So I got a kick out of that. Like, thinking, they're in a crowd right there, and I'm not in that crowd.
Why'd you get a kick out of it?
I don't know. I just
you're like relishing at the suffering of others.
Well, it's not suffering for them, but it's like, I don't like being in crowds. It makes me not anxious, but it's
not nice.
Yeah, it's not nice. And seeing the dedication that people would have to like do that, it was like, wow, I didn't know they were that big of a deal. But maybe.
Oh well, Meghan and Harry were really played up by the media, though. They were made to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, when Kate and William got married, I was a teenager, and so were you. And I don't remember it being that big of a deal. I don't know if it's because I was a kid and I wasn't as, I guess, aware of the world. You know how teenagers are; they're living in their own little bubble. But I don't remember it being that big. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Kate and William have been together for so long.
I think
so. They were together for almost, I'm trying to remember, I don't even know, 9-10 years before they got married. Something crazy like that.
Yeah. Whereas this happened overnight, from what I understand.
Which is, we're gonna get to it.
And it's also ridiculously, like, people would say, I'm not saying this, but people would say that it was controversial, because you wouldn't think that the royal family would take someone in from the States,
because the last time they did it, I don't know if you know about Wallis Simpson. So she married who was it, King, I don't want to get this wrong because I don't want to make anyone mad at me. Wallis Simpson.
Sorry if we're not completely up to date on the
Wallis Simpson, the Duchess of Windsor. She was the wife of the Duke of Windsor and the former British King, Edward VIII. So he had to abdicate to marry her. And she was an American divorcee and a socialite. She was very much like Meghan, someone on the scene in America. Someone who, at the time, was seen as unfit to be a member of the royal family.
And I bet 10 times more because of the time as well.
Absolutely.
What year was this?
Oh man, this is very long. Like, I mean, look at the photos, right? Such a long time ago.
It looks like it says Edward VIII.
Well, they married in 1937. Yeah, that was a different time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she was twice married, just like Meghan before. Yeah, look at that. So her first marriage was to, where is he? Earl Winfield Spencer Jr., married 1916 to 1927. And then she married Ernest Simpson, 1928 to 1937. And then she married Edward VIII. Isn't that nuts?
I would call that more of a feat because of the time. Because
the parallels, though. The parallels.
Yeah, absolutely. But back then, can you imagine? Like, the royal family would have been the bee's knees back in the day.
Yeah.
And especially when the media owned essentially all the information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was no social media.
There was no way. Nothing. There was only word of mouth, and word of mouth can only get you so far. So, wow.
So yeah, so that was the last time that an American divorcee / actress / socialite had a brush with the royal family, and it wasn't received very well.
Yeah.
So a lot of parallels were actually drawn between Meghan and Wallis, by the way, because Meghan is, I'm not sure if Wallis was older than King Edward, well, the former King Edward. She was born in 1896, dude. That's like almost 100 years before we were born. That's insane.
Jeez.
And Edward VIII was born 1894. So he was actually older by a couple of years. But people did make some deal about Meghan being older than Harry. And definitely divorced ones. There is some debate about an annulment for the first marriage before her second husband. So there were a lot of parallels. But anyways, let's get back to it. So I brought up how she would talk, wax lyrical about how she had a tough upbringing. But this was only after she joined the royal family. From my research, I uncovered that she was actually born into a quite well-off middle-class family. Her father, who she is actively battling and is estranged from, Thomas Markle, was an award-winning lighting director in Hollywood. So I'm not sure if it was an Oscar that he won, but he was doing quite well for himself in Hollywood.
I mean, that's kind of like, you can already see, well, there's her connection to Hollywood. That's how she got in show business. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because to say that he didn't pull at least one or two strings, you definitely couldn't say that she did it on her own merit.
Absolutely.
And this is, mind you, I'm trying to remember now. There have been successful children of people in Hollywood before, where the child has gone into it as well, and they've actually made a name for themselves, and so it's like, hey, here's so and so, they are famous. They're also the son of, as opposed.
But that's not how you see them.
Exactly. You see them for their own accomplishments, as opposed to. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Nepotism. You don't see them as, it's this person's kid.
Yeah.
So, actually, we talk about Johnny Depp here. His daughter, Lily Rose Depp, I don't think you know her.
No.
But she is proving to be quite successful just by herself. Lovely, lovely, beautiful young lady.
And that's just it, right? It's not about, like, to quote The Matrix...
big fan of The Matrix here. I couldn't get into it. Don't. I mean, I'm gonna lose like half of my subscribers now. Sorry.
When Morpheus says, "I can only show you the door," you're the one that has to walk through it. That's kind of how it is.
Is that the first one?
That's the first one.
I like that one.
Yeah, when he's about to see the Oracle.
Yeah.
But that's just it's so true. Like, I was actually talking about it years back, how I had a friend that worked at a company that I wanted to work at, and I was so excited because I thought that that's all I needed, but then I was underqualified for the job in the end, because I was so young and I didn't have the necessary experience, but he could only show me the door, and I feel like in this situation, because I don't know who she is, and I only know her because she married Harry. I don't think she necessarily walked through it. I think she just sat back on her.
Well, our answer is right here in front of us. So her father worked on. So the awards he won. Where is it? 2 daytime Emmy awards. So he won the Emmys for his work on the television soap opera General Hospital. Which, guess who got her very first cameo role in General Hospital? Drum roll, please. You guessed it. Rachel, which is her first name, by the way. I bet you didn't know that.
We should call her Rachel.
Just to get on her nerves?
Well, I mean,
she'll never know us, but I know what you're saying.
I also feel like she likes getting on other people's nerves.
Our little rebellious streak. Yeah. We're going to call her Rachel. Rachel Meghan Markle. She made an appearance, and I saw it on YouTube, and maybe once we get, I don't know, sophisticated enough to start, what is that thing where you use that streaming software?
OBS.
Yes, once we start using that, I can actually start playing things for everyone, and commenting in real time. We're not really getting into that yet, are we?
No, not yet. And that's partly because I'm such a, how do I say? The margin for me is pretty high when it comes to production standards, so
we don't want to give you a subpar.
I don't cut corners
podcast,
unless it's at what I would deem a professional level. It's not going to happen, so it won't be half-assed. So sorry, you're going to have to wait for that to, I'm not going to pull it out of the oven before it's ready.
Yeah. So I watched a clip, and she was the receptionist at the hospital, basically, and she was answering a call or maybe even talking to someone, and I say this with, I don't want to say peace and love because I don't want to rip off Ethan, but I say this from a place of
objectivity?
I guess objectivity. I'm no acting coach or whatnot, but a lot of us can tell whether someone's doing a good job or not because it's whether you believe them or not. You don't have to be a good actor to be able to judge someone, right, for their acting. And it was really cringe. That's all I'm going to say. She was young, but it was cringe.
Are we saying that she wouldn't be qualified to be a receptionist?
Oh, jeez.
Because, like, come on, it's not a bad job. In fact, it's the first face you get when you call a company. It's the first person you get onto. So it's actually
we're not saying anything against receptionists. Again, I know the internet takes things and runs with them.
But I guess my first impression of whatever company Rachel worked for wouldn't be great. Well, I'll interchange as I remember probably.
She couldn't even pretend to be a receptionist, basically, is what we're trying to say.
As objective as that is, it's still so just...
All respect to receptionists. I, as a kid, just to get work experience, worked as a receptionist / junior administrative assistant, so no shade.
No, of course not.
All right, so definitely, it's indisputable that her father opened the door for her, and she actually talked about how she would go to set, on the various shows he worked for. I think it was a particular show that was actually inappropriate for children. It was Married with Children. That was the one, which was very popular before our time in the 80s, and she would regularly go there after school. So she was very much exposed to that life. So for her to say, oh, I had to struggle through life, and her dad, she went to a private school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she went to a private school which her father paid for. He paid for her university education. She says it's through her hard work and scholarships. I'm not disputing she may have had a scholarship to pay for a portion of it, but he definitely paid for the bulk. And she would say this about him. That's what I learned from from the interviews I was watching. Before meeting Harry, her father was the apple of her eye almost. She loved him. And she said nothing but wonderful things about him. She has... the TIG, I told you about her blog that she used to have? It's defunct now, but apparently it's still registered, and she reactivated it in 2019, by the way, which shows us how she's been planning for this Megxit for a while before. Well, not a while.
Maybe before she even hit the royal family.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, point being, she loved her dad. And everything she ever said about him, she would say how he told her a face without freckles is like... a night sky without stars. Like, she always talked about how he made her life wonderful. So when I learned that, it really shook me how quickly she just discarded him.
This is such a problem too, right? Because I don't know anything about her dad, but from the sounds of it, he really wanted to love and care for her and do everything he could for her.
Yeah.
And the result of that became entitlement. That is such a...
He spoiled her, you're saying?
She is a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Well, that's what Zach's opinion is. When we say things here, it's our opinion. We're not saying Meghan is objectively a spoiled person. No. If you think she's not, very much entitled to that belief, and just as much as we're entitled to our beliefs.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the thing that I get when I look at her. She goes... It's almost like she knows what she's doing and she knows that she's getting away with it. Like that mischievous, I don't know, it reminds me of the look in the bully's eye, I
get what you're saying.
In school. And so...
Yeah.
But because, if she had gone through hardship, I don't think she would be acting like this. I'm not saying that people can't recover from any hardship or horrible experiences they've had in their lives, but... I find that most of them appreciate when they find success, and they don't try and fluff it up and make it bigger and then leave the royal family.
I know. I'm going to get to that. I'm just conscious of the time. We do want to stick to our 90-minute time limit if possible, and we're already half an hour in, so I'm going to have to speed through this. So,
go for it.
Another thing I learned is that it looks like, to me, from the research, that she used men to advance herself.
That was the very first thing I ever said about her.
That's true.
That was the first thing I said, because I said, when you told me, I forget what it was, but basically you brought up in conversation, hey, she's been married twice, and you mentioned that one of them was a producer.
Yes, Trevor.
And I absolutely just went, she's using Harry.
Yeah.
She's using Trevor.
Yeah.
This is what she does. She uses and discards. And you can't make it up.
I used to not believe that when we would get into discussions about Meghan, but now from just the 3 weeks I spent looking into her, it's just undeniable. Because the thing with her is she really wanted to be someone in life, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's different, working hard to get to where you are, earning it, versus taking a shortcut because for some reason, whether she's not talented, whether she doesn't look right, which she says she blamed her skin color, by the way, for her lack of success in Hollywood, which is ridiculous because we know there's Halle Berry, there's Rihanna, who I know is not Hollywood necessarily, but...
Rosario Dawson.
Exactly. All these people who are Alicia Keys.
Samuel Jackson. I'm talking like anyone because...
Because she doesn't... The thing is, she doesn't look black, and that's what people have a major issue with. That's subjective because... What did you think when you saw her?
I didn't really have an opinion, but
did you think she was half black?
I don't think so. I don't think
I remember you telling me I had no idea she was even part black.
Exactly. I don't remember thinking that. I don't remember judging her by that because sometimes I'm not good with faces, and sometimes besides that, it's not an important thing to me.
Well, regardless of importance, just when you first glanced at her, I remember you saying, "Wow, I didn't even know she was half black."
Yeah, no, of course
it's not something that screams out.
No, it doesn't. So to make it such a big deal, I mean, it's like,
What I'm trying to get at here is, she is so racially, ambiguous. Because, and I said it's subjective, because honestly, when I first saw her, I saw the black in her. I did, personally. And I could tell she was, not 100%, but definitely there's black in her blood. And then people like Zach, and I've heard this again from my research, from so many people who were like, I didn't even know she was a quarter black, let alone whatever percentage it is that she is. All this to say, she really latches onto this notion of racism, right? When... apart from a few nasty tabloids that released maybe a couple, I'm not going to say a couple because I don't know, but it definitely wasn't an overwhelming majority of tabloids that would say, oh, Meghan's straight out of Compton, or her mom was from the hood and her mom was into drugs, and there were these horrible articles.
Yeah, but if you're taking tabloids seriously, I mean, like tabloids are meant to just be controversial,
but they weren't even the majority. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which we will get to again. Her relationship with the media. So
it's like you would expect, same way you go to a comedy act. Like you expect.
No, there's a limit.
There is absolutely, but I would expect nothing but filth from a tabloid.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. But for example, with comedy acts, the stuff that went, where it was okay 20 years ago, is not okay today. So I am taking
40 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, I am taking into context today's climate.
Yeah.
You can't. Some of the things they said about her were awful, which I want to put out there.
Yeah, but you would get that even if no matter who you were.
Even if you're Kate.
Yeah, exactly.
Kate Middleton.
Exactly.
Which, she, again, I do want to try to do things chronologically.
But I think she's absolutely using that as a card to oh look, feel sorry for me, sorry. Because so far, I mean, if I had to summarize my opinion of her, she just wants people to feel sorry for her.
100%.
That's all she wants.
100%.
And it's backfiring.
So it was around the time she married Trevor, or I think she married him in celebration of landing her supporting role in Suits, which, as Zach already said, I never watched it. When Suits was a big thing, I was in training in the Army, and I was already a lawyer at that time, and I remember my we're called staff cadets when we're training in the Royal Military College to become officers. So my fellow staff cadets would tell me, oh, you need to watch Suits because you're a lawyer, and they would talk about it all the time, and I never watched it because, as you all know by now, I had no interest in being a lawyer. It wasn't something that I was passionate about. I was in the Army to get away from it, so I wasn't about to start watching a show centered on the law. So I ignored it, didn't even know she was a part of it. And this is not to belittle her, right? Because we already touched upon this last week. There's nothing wrong with not being famous. Clearly, it's not like your value is diminished, but the way she harps on about how, I was this and I was that and I gave it all away for Harry. So what did you give away? Which, again, I'm trying to be chronological. It's so hard because it's such a web of lies with her. It's all connected.
And that's the other thing too, is that when you deal with complex, I don't mean complex in a complimentative way, but in a complex character like this, it's when you decide to expose them, where do you even start?
Yeah.
There's so much to go through. Oh, man.
That's why it took me so long.
Yeah, it's just, it's overwhelming. Ridiculously so.
All right. So now we get to meeting Harry and her claims. Oh, no. I'm going ahead of myself. I'm sorry. We were talking about her dad and how she uses men, right? So it cannot be a coincidence. I think we've said this, but I just want to make sure we have that around the time she was married to Trevor, or definitely with him, because they were together for a total of either 7 or 11 years. I know it's a huge jump between the two, but both of them are a long period of time.
Or however long it was until she could find something better.
I think it was 11 years, honestly. I think it was 11 years they were together. Not married, but together. They married in 2011. So she landed her role in Suits, and then, I don't know if it was a couple of years later, she basically sent him back her ring through FedEx or whatever mail service she used as a way of saying it's over. Now, we don't know. No, I don't think anyone in the public knows definitively why the marriage ended. There is speculation that he outlived his usefulness.
I would say that speculation's probably down the right, because we are, in fact, this is the narrative that's being written. It's the underlying theme. It's only how useful people are to her.
The problem is not the problem. I do want to be devil's advocate and say she did move to Toronto to film, and he stayed in, I believe it was LA, because he was a producer. And so there is an argument to be made for they just drifted apart, because I personally I've never been in a long distance relationship, but I'd imagine it's very difficult to sustain.
Yes, but at the same time, I don't know. I can't help but look at the second point right there and go, that probably, because again, yes, let's put that in as a possibility. Maybe it was just a long distance relationship and it was really hard to maintain. Or maybe she's just a horrible person.
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there.
Of course, because
it's only fair.
Yeah.
It's only fair to make note that they weren't together physically when the marriage broke down. They were apart.
Yeah, and anyone who is in a relationship for a long period of time, or anyone who is married for a long period of time, you don't just do that. You talk about it. You don't just do it like that, because
he's never commented. He's actually been very decent towards her, and he's never engaged with the media. But so we've never heard his side, which means that we've never heard anything, because Meghan didn't talk about it either. So we don't know if there never was a discussion. Which brings us to meeting Harry. She alleges that they met through a blind date that was arranged by a mutual friend, and in the engagement interview, they were both insistent on not saying who the friend was to maintain their privacy. But of course, there's speculation. It doesn't matter who it was. That's the official story they both put forward in the engagement interview, which was... Did you even watch it?
Nope.
No. Well, I did. Back in the day, back when it first came out. So, now... Not now, I guess through my research, I found out that may not even be true. She was apparently dating this famous chef in Toronto. I think his name was Corey. And there are photos of them together where she's kissing him and all that. So it's not just speculation. And the other story is that he was the chef for an event for the Invictus Games, which Harry is the face of, and it's an initiative he started, which is kind of like an Olympics for wounded veterans.
Yeah, I've heard about this
Yeah.
too, and I think I've even been to an event, or not an event that Harry was at, but I've had some through work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because they actually ran it here in 2018.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, in Australia when they came on their tour.
Yeah.
So Corey was a chef at that event, and of course he brought a +1. Who was that +1? And again, all speculation from that point. We don't know if that's where they met, Harry and Meghan. And then there is speculation that she cheated on Corey with Harry, because Harry would, visit her in Toronto and all that during that time. But whatever the story is, I don't want to put it out there like this is fact.
Yeah.
Whatever the story is, they met in 2016, around the summer 2016, and her story was always in the engagement interview, oh yeah, I had no idea who he was. I can't even keep a straight face when I say that.
Okay, so maybe if you're from a poor, impoverished, in a poor country where, maybe you struggle to find food, and even then you would have a tough time not knowing who the royal family is, because I believe they've also done charity work. I believe this is going way back, but I think I've seen members of the royal family doing charity work, right?
Yeah, they're very charitable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you are so far removed on the other side of the planet, that there's still, a royal family. Like, you might not know all of their names, but you don't just know. No, I don't believe it.
I know. And which really brings me to the engagement interview. That was when she said that, because he said it. It's believable for him to say that I didn't know who Meghan Markle was.
She was a nobody.
Exactly. That's the point. She wasn't on par with Prince Harry. She wasn't on par with the royal family. No one knew about her. So I feel like she said that to put them on an even keel, which is, I didn't know who you were either. And she said that on live TV. I don't know if the engagement interview was streamed live, but whatever, it was aired. And this is the kicker. This is when as I was sitting there, I was watching this at work. I remember I was watching her, and she goes, I didn't even know anything about him, and all that I cared about was he nice?
I didn't know much about him, and so the only thing that I had asked her when she said she wanted to set us up was, I had one question. I said, well, is he nice? Because if he wasn't kind, it didn't seem like it would make sense, and so.
And that's when I remember this. I was like, this woman, are you for real right now?
Okay, so Pluto, let's say that you're going to meet a prince right now, right? Now, you might not know exactly the prince, but I tell you it's from some royal family of some country.
Well, no, you're told. Let's play it exactly as it was.
Yeah.
Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Oh, she calls it a blind date, which is ridiculous. Who doesn't know who the hell Prince Harry is and what he looks like?
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course. You want to finish your question?
As soon as you say prince, it's like,
Google.
Okay, yeah.
If you don't know him already.
If you don't, and then if you already know, do you go,
is he nice?
Is he nice? Or do you
not nice.
Do you go and get dressed and be like, I'm so excited to meet this person because they're essentially a celebrity?
Exactly. Why not just be honest? Because what matters to me is, it wouldn't make sense to me, she said, if he wasn't kind.
Well, oh gosh.
Anyways, let's try not to harp on every single point, because we do have a lot to get through.
I can only roll my eyes so many times.
So that was the red flag for me, and from that moment on, I do remember just anytime she was making appearances in the news from that point, it's that chick, which again I completely forgot about, because she doesn't really matter to me. She's not on my radar, so it was kind of tucked away in some corner of my mind because it was that ridiculous, I guess. So another red flag: Harry never met her father, ever. And her father didn't end up going to the wedding because the poor thing actually suffered from a heart attack. Because one might assume he was very stressed from the whole situation, from all the media attention he was getting.
Yeah.
But he suffered from a heart attack, and she I mean, I don't know what she could have done in terms of physically going to him a couple of days before her wedding, but the word is she didn't do anything to check up on her.
Yeah, if you're a celebrity, if you're a business tycoon, if you are about to marry a member of the royal family and become part of the royal family yourself, money is no object. And if it's not before this pandemic, you can fly anywhere and do anything. You can literally fly somewhere and fly back on the same day. There is no excuse for not seeing potentially a family member that he could have passed away from a heart attack.
Apparently, they didn't even talk on the phone. That's what's concerning me. I'm not sure whether one of them just wouldn't pick up, but there was no... Yeah, Thomas has always maintained that she never really cared.
Yep, because she got everything out of him that she needed. As soon as she found someone who could get her places further than him, suddenly he's gone. It doesn't matter if you're a husband or your father. You are a tool and you are to be used by her.
The speculation is that she wanted to be walked down the aisle by the future King of England.
Absolutely.
Which, again, I can see the merit in that. Now, I really want to remind people, if you're still watching, thank you very much, that everything we're saying here is purely our opinion, our perceptions. We're not saying it's the objective truth. So please try not to get too offended. We're all just so offended now. Isn't that the kind of catchphrase of our generation?
Yeah, a lot of these are just my first reactions because I really try not to follow these sorts of cycles. It's just not my thing, obviously.
I didn't follow it until I watched the Oprah interview, and I was like, damn, I am getting a lot of red flags here, and I was taken back to my initial feelings during the engagement interview. So, right, moving on. On the lead up to the wedding, before she got married, even though I remember complaining actually about how much she and Harry were shoved in the news in our faces, but everything I saw was positive. Everyone was overjoyed by Meghan. They loved her. They saw that her biracialism was seen as a plus. And even the tabloids, they were saying really wonderful things about her and them together on the whole. So, but her story with Oprah is, they were horrible to me from the get-go because they're racist.
I mean, you can go back to the tabloids at that time and directly... Who do you think you are to tell a lie that big?
I know.
Imagine I said, I don't have a Marvel mug. Imagine I said, I don't know who you are. Imagine I said...
I would be like, do you have amnesia?
Oh, gosh. That's more believable than...
Crazy.
They were... Oh, my God.
So, yes. So, she lied and said they always hated her. No. I remember this. It's not even something I had to uncover through research. She had a love affair with the media until things started to go wrong after the marriage.
Yeah.
That's the timeline. And then now we get to the wedding. Very quickly, the only thing I really want to... Well, there are actually two main points I want to talk about. First of all, the elephant in the room. She had how many family members?
One, from what I remember.
And she invited... 200 celebrities that she had apparently never even spoken to.
I remember you told me this during the week, and this is one of the things that I love about the Oprah interview is Oprah saying, thanks for inviting me even though we hadn't met yet.
No, she didn't say even though we hadn't met yet. That was my bad. She said, thanks for inviting me, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was my bad. But the way she said it, I think I said it that way to you.
Yeah, because that was the implication.
It really came across that way. Like, thanks for inviting me, by the way. Because it's like, you didn't have to. We didn't know each other. That's the reading I got through it.
Yeah, but that's just... I mean, that's who it was. Like,
everyone said she didn't know who George and Amal Clooney were. Like, all these celebrities, she didn't talk to them. You know what I mean? They didn't... They weren't personally friends. So she went through the effort of inviting them all, the entirety of Hollywood pretty much, but she didn't invite her own family.
Yep.
You're one family member.
Yep.
It was so bizarre to watch. It was so strange. And of course, it again raises red flags. Where's your family? But second point is the Queen actually offered a very kind of low-key option for them because Meghan was divorced.
Yeah.
And, with these weddings, all the pomp, the white dress, it signifies whether you agree or not, whether it's correct to keep that kind of what am I trying to say? The white color signifies purity and virginity and all those things that are very archaic, admittedly so. But that's what it signifies. And so people say, well, she was 37, and not that it's about the age, but she was at least once married, if not twice, divorced. So the wedding didn't have to be that grand. It wasn't like Kate and William, where they were each other's, you know, first marriage, and they were very young. It was puppy love that evolved, and William is the future king of England.
But now we know.
Who insisted on that?
It could not have been not grand. It had to be grand, because you know what? Even a wedding that size could not match Rachel's ego.
You really want to call her Rachel? It's so weird.
I'm switching back and forth, but it's just like, that's who she is.
The thing about the wedding, with all the pomp and, you know, all the money that was invested into it and spent, all the taxpayer money, right? She then has the audacity to say during the interview with Oprah that was all for the public. It wasn't even really for us. What we did was we got married in private 3 days before in our backyard with the Archbishop of Canterbury, who was the person who married them.
Yeah.
Now that's illegal in England. You cannot have a private wedding, especially when you're marrying into the royal family. No one in England can have a private wedding in their backyard without at least 2 witnesses and a whole bunch. I think you can't even have it outdoors. It has to be under a roof of some sort.
This ain't Vegas.
And then, exactly, this ain't Vegas. And that's what people are saying. It's like, she's an American and she thinks that people in England can just do it like the Americans can. And no, and the Archbishop himself came out, because it's a crime. It would be illegal for him to do that. So he came out and said, no, they did not get married 3 days before. The date on their marriage certificate, uncovered by the tabloids or whatever newspaper uncovered it, is clearly the 19th of May, the day of the wedding. The huge wedding that she apparently didn't even really care for and was just for you guys. We're so nice. We set up everything just for the public.
And then on top of that, the Queen offered them
the small wedding. And not only that, guess what else the Queen offered them? Now, she complained and said, I had to give up my career. I'm sorry if I'm, being a drama queen, but she's a drama queen. I can't help myself. She had to give up everything for Harry. Well, it turns out that the Queen offered her the possibility of not being a full-time royal and still acting. She can do what she wants. She can still continue to earn her money and have her career and be married to Harry. And she turned it down and said no. And she said this in the interview as well with Oprah. She said, well, she didn't say that she was offered this option. All she said was, I want to give you everything. I'm here for you. Use me as you want, as you see fit. That's almost verbatim what she said to Oprah. I don't know what she actually said to the Queen.
Probably something completely different and a complete lie.
Well, I believe her. I believe that that's what anyone would say. If I were to, get engaged to a prince and get married to him, I would also want to commit myself to the royal family, because it's such a privilege. It's such an honor to be a part of that family that personally, not many people may, people may not think it's a privilege and an honor. I do.
Yeah.
So I would very, very happily give up, my old career or whatever, and dedicate myself to service.
Let's use her own logic against her. The first thing she says when she meets Harry is, when she's about to meet Harry, she doesn't know who she is, but is he nice, right? That's her first thing, right? Now, then we jump over to, I will do anything for you. Now, a nice prince, a nice person would, like any partner should, support the other one in their career. So if she wants to continue acting, I can't see Harry not supporting that. Absolutely not. He would have supported her. The Queen was supportive of that. So either he's not nice and she doesn't care if someone's nice, which I can tell you that she probably doesn't care if someone's nice, or there was no I'm giving everything for you. There's nothing to give up. No. What I'm hearing is that her role as Rachel in Suits was actually getting written off by the time, around the time she met Harry. So apparently, again, I don't know if this is true, but apparently she had nothing going for her, especially at that time. So she
needed that next thing, next step up, which I don't know how she even tries to argue that the life she had before was anywhere close to what she was marrying into. How is it giving up?
Just to compare this to an actually famous actor, Martin Freeman, right, who did Watson in the new Sherlock interpretation.
Yeah, I love
right?
him. He's great.
He's amazing, right? He had signed a contract for Sherlock, but then Peter Jackson wanted him for the Hobbit trilogy, and he really Lord of the Rings is a huge deal. He really wanted to do it, and he thought he was going to have to turn it down. Peter Jackson moved the entire production, because basically Sherlock's contract said he had to be there at that time and do Sherlock, and he couldn't do anything else. Peter Jackson moved the entire production of The Hobbit just for Martin Freeman, and Martin Freeman was incredibly humbled by that, because real actors have more than one gig. The same way that a musician doesn't just have one gig. They have you might have a residency, but you certainly know how to play in other bands.
That's the thing about her. Before Suits, there's like YouTube compilations of all the cameos she made as an up-and-coming struggling actress. Look, this is not age shaming. I'm so against age shaming.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of people, everyone knows how sexist and how ageist Hollywood is.
Yeah.
If you're a woman after the age of 25, you're seen as, it's too late for you. Like, you're an old hag, which is wrong, of course, because you've barely been an adult for 7 years since your 18th birthday. It's ridiculous.
Something that European cinema does really well. Is,
yes. Like the top actresses in Europe. Thank you, driver. The top actresses in Europe that you see in these movies are middle-aged and up, and they're wonderful to watch, because it's believable to watch a leading lady with life experience, not a 20-year-old. That's the quintessential, that's the age that Hollywood loves to glorify. How can you put them as the leading lady in every single movie, in every single story? I understand how if it's like a teenage or high school flick or university coming of age story, it makes sense. But they keep insisting on putting leading ladies or giving the roles of important women to those who are young. And women will talk all the time. Liv Tyler has spoken out about it. Kirsten Dunst, who I love, about how they get to 35 and they're done for, right? So Meghan, all this to say, she was well into her late 20s and she was still getting those hot girl in Airplane with Ashton Kutcher. She was very clearly not getting that big break that she wanted. And then she got Suits, and then it was going to end. So she needed her meal ticket. That's what people are saying. And quite honestly, from the research I've been doing, that's what it looked like.
If you really cared about acting as an American actress, you would probably try and move to European cinema, I guess. I'm not sure, because...
Well, you would have taken up the Queen's offer, I guess, if it meant so much to you.
And then there would have been this prestige of, we're casting a member of the royal family. And from what I've heard about her acting chops...
Everyone says they're not good.
Null and void. So that means that it would be a reason to hire her. But I think that what we have here is an example of someone who wants the job title but doesn't want to do the work. That's what
you literally just summarized what the entire internet is saying about it.
And within an hour of talking about it too.
Which means we have 25 minutes or so left, so I really want to get through this.
Let's do it.
This is very important. She flouted royal protocol time and time again. Now, say what you want about the royal family, okay? If you're going to marry into it, you're going to have to observe their rules. It's a 1,200-year institution. And it's the royal freaking family. I don't know what else to say. So when they say you need to wear stockings or pantyhose under your dresses and under your skirts, no bare legs. When they say that your nail polish should be a neutral color, the Queen doesn't like bright, flashy nail polish. When they say that you shouldn't expose your shoulders, which she did even in her very wedding, I think. I'm trying to remember her dress. It was like a boat neck thing. Don't come at me if that wasn't considered wrong by royal protocol. I do know that in her first trooping of the colors, she exposed her shoulders when she was already a duchess, which is a very big no-no.
Even if you want to pick apart that, there's plenty of other rules that she's broken.
Things that may seem archaic, old-fashioned, traditional, unnecessary. Say what you want. It's the royal family.
It's the things that you would do, pardon me, the things that you would similarly do,
if you were seeing
in-laws, right?
Yeah.
And so you go and see your in-laws, or you going to see your parents, and you just put on a nice shirt.
Well, it's not even that. In the army, we're not allowed to have a fake hair color. Yeah. So if you are joining the military here in Australia, and if you're a brunette like me, and you're blonde when you apply, and it's so obvious that the blonde isn't real, and this has happened to my friends, so it's not just something I've heard about the military, they will tell you, you cannot have your hair that way. It needs to be colored or natural or colored in a shade that could be natural to you. You cannot have tattoos invisible, on your face, your neck, and on your hands. That's a very strict army rule. You, in the army, have to have your hair tied up in a bun with a net, not just an exposed bun. No flyaways, no strays. You cannot have jewelry. We have rules in the army. It's the bloody army. You can't walk in there. I couldn't walk in there and say, I actually had my right ear had 7 piercings. And at that time when I joined, they were only 2 years old because I was a teenager. And I was told to remove them. I didn't say, I'm not going to remove them. I want them. They're only 2 years old. I don't want them to close up. I knew that I joined the military.
If you don't want to follow the rules,
don't join the institution.
The door's right there.
Exactly.
That's how it is.
Exactly. My hair was really short, but guess what? It still could get bunched up in a bun, and I had to use clips to put it together. I couldn't say, no, it's too short. I'm just going to leave it open. Untied. There are institutions that are thousands of years old, including the military, where you cannot flout the rules. So this to me highlighted how entitled she is.
Absolutely.
And how many people speculate that she did it on purpose time and time again to aggravate the media, to aggravate the tabloids.
To aggravate the royal family.
So that she could then turn around to Harry and say, they're bullying me. I want to leave.
You know what's really funny? She sounds like a bully. She sounds like the sort of girl who would pick on other girls when she was in school.
I'm glad you brought this up because there have been so many women, particularly female staff in Kensington Palace, her staff, that left in tears. They quit in tears after she came in and became a member of the the royal family. Because the allegations are very explicitly against her, by the way. This is not just rumors. Allegations of bullying. Against Meghan. Numerous. Not just 1 or 2. And they're being backed up by other members of the royal household.
Just a quick aside, food for thought. How many people have left the royal family and accused Kate of bullying?
Not just Kate. These people, the staff, they tend to. It's the most prestigious job people in their field can ask for.
How about the Queen herself? Exactly. She's very old-fashioned, as most people her age would be. They're very stuck in their ways. So, especially with how fast society is developing, you'd think that maybe a member of the royal family would have some sort of, a staff of the royal family would have some sort of biff there. No, nothing. From what again, it's a rhetorical question because I haven't been through, but excessive reports of bullying?
There have never been, the staff turnover for Meghan has never been seen before in the royal family. So they describe her as like a revolving door. She goes through assistants and staff members she goes through clothes, because that's another thing people have a problem with her. She has spent so much on clothing that no other royal family in Europe or royal member in Europe has ever done, including the Queen.
Which you would do if you were stupidly egotistical.
So that's the bullying point which you've brought up. So I guess we've got that covered because as you can see in my notes, it was right here.
I didn't even read that.
Yeah, I know. No, it came up very naturally. Yeah. So there was Princess Eugenie's wedding. Now, again, I've mentioned this is Harry's cousin, and this is apparently the person that Meghan, she wanted her tiara. And they had to delay the wedding for Meghan and Harry, etc., etc. What does Meghan decide to do at Princess Eugenie's wedding? She got dressed in that now infamous blue coat, very carefully, just buttoned up or, fastened to right before the tummy would pop out for, if you were pregnant. And she chose that day, a princess's wedding, to announce her pregnancy.
You can beep this out in post if you want, but what a
I remember this being all over the news, and the problem is she wasn't even showing. she spent the next few months really trying to show the media, like, oh gosh, I saw this compilation on YouTube. You guys should go look this up, of her flicking her coat back just every time she made an appearance, right? She would wear the tightest dresses around her belly, and she would, knowing the cameras are on her, it was like a tic. It was like she had Tourette's, where she would flick her coat back just to make sure that they could photograph the bump. It's insane. You need to go look that up. It's ridiculous. So that's another strike against Meghan. Now
these poor kids. Are they gonna? The kids are gonna be born and have no attention because the attention's all gonna have to be on her.
All right. So moving on, we've talked about the bullying. Sorry guys, it's just that we're really running out of time.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy. This is when the media really started to turn against them, where Harry and Meghan would lecture us plebs about climate change and all these things that are very worth lecturing about.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, climate change is a big thing. Yeah.
They go off on their private jets every now and then on holiday.
Yeah.
And she flew off, on a private jet to New York for her baby shower, which she really didn't have to do.
You mean the people she didn't invite to the wedding? She
flew
over for a baby shower?
No, they're celebrities.
Of course.
They're celebrities. Her family was not invited to that baby shower. I mean, her mom probably was, but that's it.
If she was lucky.
She flew off to the U.S. Open weeks after the birth of her child to watch Serena Williams play live.
Just a quick side note, anyone who's had a kid, do you want to fly weeks after you've given birth to a child?
Weeks, months, whatever it is. Yeah, it was a very short period of time, right?
Do you want to do, or do you want to make sure that you are taking care of? Again, what I just said, the kid is now lower on the priority list than her ego, and that is a danger for everyone.
Another thing, she accepted basically blood diamonds. So there was a gift from a Saudi Arabian prince who has been linked to causing the death of a well-known journalist in the Middle East. His name was, I think it was Jamal Khashoggi. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. It is. Jamal Khashoggi, and he was chopped up in Turkey. Chopped up.
Yeah.
And I think he went to the Saudi Arabian embassy or some kind of official
That's terrifying.
Location.
Yeah.
And anyways, he was murdered and chopped up into bits.
Jeez.
So knowing this, she accepted these diamond chandelier earrings and wore them not once but twice. And this is what really exposes her as doing that deliberately. Let me just finish this.
Yeah, go.
She told her staff to tell people they were borrowed and that they weren't her possession.
We are now dealing with someone who doesn't care if whatever she's wearing is from someone who got chopped up.
Well, you mean someone who was responsible for that. He could.
Well, yeah,
blood money earrings. See?
Oh my god.
Here, they're the earrings.
No.
She wore them twice and told her staff not to tell the truth, which, to me, tells me that she knew what she was doing was wrong.
Nothing will stand in the way of her ego. Nothing. She will do everything to, and this is the irony, everything she does now backfires. She wants to show everyone a certain image. That image is the most important thing to her in her entire life.
And the problem is, she not only, let's forget the blood money, right? Saudi Arabia, what's it known for? Is it known for its women's rights? She's a champion for women's rights. Why are you accepting a gift and wearing a gift from a country where women are seen as little more than, little better than animals, from what I've heard?
I said this to you earlier because we had a brief discussion over dinner a few nights ago. I said that this sort of behavior from this sort of person is what sets back women's rights. This is the sort of stuff that you have women out there fighting for equal pay, fighting for job security, fighting to be treated as a man equally in the workplace, anywhere in the world. You have them fighting just to survive.
Yeah.
And then you have women like this. Mm-hmm. She is doing such a disservice to her own gender. And she doesn't care. Again, nothing will stand in the way of her ego. So as far as her being an activist for women's rights, well, anyone remember that scene in iRobot where Will Smith sneezes and said, "Sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit"?
Yeah. Just so many issues. This is why I couldn't help but change my mind about her. So now we get to we're getting closer. Not really. I'm lying, but I'm gonna try to really speed this up because there's a lot to get through here. It's either a part 2 or we keep going and make this a long one. I don't know.
No, part 2.
So I've literally just reached the Oprah interview in my notes, which means there's no way we've got 10 minutes left for an hour and a half, which we really don't want to go over, especially in the early days when, we're just starting off. So
I think we might do a part 2.
We will probably continue this next week because the Oprah interview is where all of her lies come unraveled. Because she didn't have the foresight and the brains to think about how people will start exposing her once she puts her truth out there. And I like how she keeps saying, it's not just her. People, there's this thing now where it's my truth. No. There is the truth.
Absolutely.
There's the objective truth. Because guess what? Amber's truth is that Johnny mistreated her, right? Her truth is that she's an innocent angel. I'm sorry. I'm so sick of people saying this is my truth.
There are different points of view and opinions on that truth. But what do you do if 6 people witness a murder? You don't go, we value this person's opinion over the rest. You get all the opinions and all the witness eye testimonies of everyone and you compile them. There is no one truth because you know what? If we're talking about an interaction with 2 people and Meghan's one of them, there's still one other person in every one of those. So long as there are 2 people, there is no, you don't get to dictate the rules. The irony is that Meghan wants the same control over people's opinions that the tabloids once had.
Yes.
She wants to be Queen Bee. She wants to be the boss.
She wants to control the narrative, which is impossible. You can't be that much of a control freak. I mean, no one wants to hear bad things about themselves in the tabloids. I'm not saying that she should put up with the abuse that the tabloids have been putting her through, but what we will continue on next week is that she did this to herself through her own behavior.
If she had actually adopted the royal family's essentially MO of don't complain,
don't explain,
then she wouldn't be in this situation. But she can't resist the limelight. This is her chance to be a famous actress.
I mean, if she even just didn't do all these things that are being reported, making people cry, bullying people, making them quit, making Kate cry, all these things that are coming out, if you're a decent person like Kate, then the tabloids will have their say, and then they'll just have no choice but to love and accept you because you are a lovely person. No one says anything bad about Kate nowadays.
And you let them say what they want to say. You let them get the juicy stuff. And if it doesn't matter if it's a lie, because you know what, at the end of the day, it's a lie.
Well, there are limits. For example, with Kate, with Kate, it was different. They published photos of her topless on holiday with William.
Oh gosh.
Now, of course, they took action for that.
Yeah.
Because that's an invasion of privacy.
And that's the other point too. It goes back to your initial video of invasion of privacy. Look, they're walking down the street. The street is a public place. If the royal family, I can imagine the royal family has a private beach. If they have a private beach,
it wasn't a private. No, I doubt the royal family owns a beach, but it's their private time.
What would happen if you saw someone go to a beach with a camera and walk up to women who were sunbathing and try and take a photo of them? It's okay because they're famous, and it's not okay because you're not famous.
Exactly.
No, it's not okay. Full stop.
Exactly. So. Hitting the table, you've done that so much this episode, by the way. Okay. You've hit the table so much.
Sorry.
We brought up Kate, but this is really next week's territory. We're really running out of time here. So for next week, we're going to focus particularly on the Oprah interview and everything that Meghan said during that interview, the things that were highlighted by the 4 top body language experts in the world. That's what they claim. They called her out to be a liar on pretty much every single thing she said. It was either she was lying or she was withholding the truth, which is, I guess, not the same as lying, but you're not really being honest.
No. I think that depends what it is, right? Like if you're testimony is the difference between someone being convicted and not being convicted, then you're absolutely lying by withholding the truth. But again,
but no, in her situation, because they did call her out as a liar, and in some instances they said she's not being forthcoming. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
So we're going to talk about that next week. There's still so much to go through, which is why I really want to save this for another episode. I had no idea that it would take us this long just to cover her background. We didn't even get to the interview.
Yeah.
So everything, her claims of being suicidal, her claims of the media never being so vicious towards anyone like this before, which is an absolute lie and very easily rebuttable. I mean, look at Princess Diana, her role model. Her role model. No, I'm talking royal family because she's specifically saying that the royal family defends other members, but they let the media trash me. That's not true.
No, their job is to trash everyone.
That is an absolute lie. The royal family did not really defend. Only if it's egregious, they do. And they've defended Meghan more than they've ever defended any other member of the family.
Yeah, I bet they wish they could take that back.
So we're going to cover all of that.
Yeah.
And just quickly going through the notes, making sure there's nothing else for today. Yeah. There are things that we've covered today because, like I said, it was like a web of lies. So it was really difficult to stick to the chronology, and I tried so hard, but it's all interconnected. So there are things that we'll skip through next week because we've covered them. I do want to reiterate that these are just our opinions, and it doesn't mean that we're right and you're wrong.
Nope.
I still stand by the fact that the publication of a private letter sent from a daughter to her father is wrong in principle.
Yep.
It's wrong according to the law of privacy, and I'm not changing my mind about that. It's just, anyways, I'm harping on about things. So, that's it. Thank you. Do you want to say anything before we leave?
Yeah, no, obviously I was just thinking when you were saying about, our opinions, there's always I think one of the greatest things about this sort of format is that even if you disagree with something we've said or you have your own opinion, this is the great place to start a discussion. Not an argument or a fight, but a discussion. I've seen a few healthy discussions back and forth in the comment sections, and, well, probably more than a few, but, I've seen that, and I think that's great. Even if we've just started a discussion and, the idea of most discussions should not be to be right, but to get right. I forget where I saw that from, but just keep it healthy in the comments. Keep it good. Constructive criticism, suggestions.
That's a new word.
Oh my gosh, can you cut that?
Zach's dictionary.
Oh gosh, you're gonna cut that out. Suggestions. An hour and a half is longer than most conversations I have in my life already.
Same. No, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah.
Loving the support, and we will see you guys here next week, same time, same place. So,
and if you haven't watched the Oprah interview, then you should.
Yes, and the body language experts as well. I think
I'll try to link that. Yeah, I'll try to remember to link that because it's very long. I will warn you, it's like a 2-hour long video. But they pause and go through a lot of her, her body language, obviously.
I love the fact that, we're getting a lot of professionals, because previously to get a body language expert, you'd have to go and find them, to have them congregating together and presenting that online.
I will say that this interview, she thought was going to be her, I guess, her moment, but it has honestly backfired so royally.
Wow.
Pun intended.
Yes.
It has backfired in their faces, and it has turned many people, including myself, who was very much in favor of Meghan, against her and against them as a couple.
Now I'm trying to think. Now I'm blank. Hold on. Give me a second. We've got time. I'm so blank. What did I say? What did I say? Do you remember what I said?
You said liars. You said... I guess I'm laughing. You said liars always get exposed. Liars always get exposed. Liars always get exposed. I'm just joking.
Oh no. Once again, we found... Oh gosh. I said something and then I messed up, and now I'm trying to say it again because it's a really good point, but now it's really funny that I've forgotten.
It was something along the lines of liars will always get...
This is really bad. You shouldn't laugh, but this is serious time. Don't eat cupcakes while you're talking about serious things.
We're not eating cupcakes.
I know. I was just saying that,
You said you said something along the lines of,
liars can't keep up with their lies.
There we go.
They always get exposed, and that's so evident here. You know,
that's a lesson to be learned.
You can't tell the same story twice. And you know what? Honesty is always the best policy. I think that's true.
It really is. It really is. The truth is simple. Lies are complicated.
Yep.
And with that, we're gonna sign off. Pretty much right on the, well, I guess an hour and a half mark. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to subscribe and like it if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, and hit that notifications bell to get notified, because I have been getting lots of complaints about that. So just hit it. If you've already hit it before, hit it again just to refresh it.
If you're on Twitter, follow Pluto on Twitter
Lost me on Pluto. Yes, it's always linked in the description box. I share all my videos there.
Yes, so if you prefer to get notified that way, if that's more reliable, go for that. Also your Instagram?
Yeah. I don't share anything on Instagram per se in terms of, hey, I posted a new video. But I do respond to DMs there.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that people can get notified on whichever platform they prefer about your videos, because YouTube isn't great at notifying people.
Yeah.
And I've heard many channels have problems with notifications, so...
Yeah, but I will be honest, I probably should put up in my stories that I've put up a new video. I should do that, because I don't do that on Instagram. So I should. And yeah, that's it. We're going to sign out, and we are going to jump right into the Oprah interview. So stay tuned for next week's episode.
See you then.
Bye, everyone.